Kunle Adewale was a young, handsome billionaire based in Lagos. He had everything life could offer: wealth, influence, and respect. Yet, none of these mattered as much to him as his love for one woman, Ngozi. Kunle adored Ngozi deeply and believed she felt the same way. One evening, in a luxurious restaurant on Victoria Island, Kunle dimmed the lights, lit scented candles, and went down on one knee. From a small velvet box, he revealed a glittering diamond ring. "Ngozi, will you marry me?" he asked, his face glowing with joy. Ngozi gasped, tears filling her eyes. "Yes, yes, 1,000,000 times yes," she exclaimed, hugging him tightly. The news of their engagement spread quickly across Lagos. Social media buzzed with their pictures, and their story became the talk of the city. Friends and admirers flooded them with congratulations. But not everyone was pleased. Kunle's father, Chief Adewale, a seasoned businessman with decades of experience, was uneasy. The following morning, he called Kunle into his study. "My son, are you sure this young woman truly loves you?" Chief Adewale asked sternly. Kunle smiled confidently. "Dad, Ngozi is not after my money. She loves me for who I am." But his father shook his head slowly. "Kunle, you are too trusting. A woman's true heart is revealed in times of hardship. Comfort hides the truth, but challenges bring it out." Kunle frowned. "Father, I don't need to test her. Ngozi has already shown me her love many times." Chief Adewale leaned forward. "If you are so sure, then a little test will do no harm. If her love is genuine, she will pass. But if not, you will know the truth before it is too late." Kunle hesitated, but eventually nodded. "Very well, father. I will do it, but I am certain she will not fail." And with that decision, the stage for the greatest test of love was set. A few days later, Kunle put his father's words into action. He contacted their trusted family doctor, Dr. Chinedu, at Lagoon Hospital in Victoria Island. Sitting in the doctor's office, he explained the unusual plan. "Doctor, I want to stage an accident. I need to know if Ngozi truly loves me," Kunle said quietly. Dr. Chinedu's eyes widened in shock. "Kunle, are you certain about this? This is not a small matter." "I am sure," Kunle replied firmly. "If Ngozi truly loves me, she will stand by me. If not, I need to know before marriage." After a long pause, Dr. Chinedu sighed. "Very well. I will help you." That evening, Kunle was admitted to the hospital under the disguise of a critical accident. Thick bandages were wrapped around his legs and neck, making him look gravely injured. He was placed on a hospital bed, machines beeping softly around him. When everything was in place, Dr. Chinedu picked up his phone and dialed Ngozi's number. "Hello, is this Miss Ngozi?" he asked. "Yes. Who is this?" Ngozi's voice sounded uneasy. "This is Dr. Chinedu from Lagoon Hospital. Your fiancé, Mr. Kunle Adewale, has been in a serious accident. He is in critical condition. Please, come immediately." Ngozi gasped, her heart nearly stopping. "Oh my God, I'm on my way," she cried, dropping the phone and rushing out of her house. Within minutes, she arrived at the hospital and hurried into the emergency ward. The sight before her was overwhelming. Kunle lying on the bed, his legs heavily bandaged, his neck stiffened with support, his face pale. Tears filled her eyes instantly. "Oh, my love, what happened to you?" she sobbed, clutching his hand. Kunle slowly opened his eyes, his voice weak and broken. "Ngozi, I don't know if I will ever walk again." Her body trembled as she wept. "No, don't say that. You will walk again. I will take care of you, my love." Trying to calm her, she rushed to Dr. Chinedu's office. "Doctor, please tell me the truth. What is happening to my fiancé?" The doctor sighed deeply, shaking his head with practiced seriousness. "Miss Ngozi, the accident was very bad. I fear Kunle's legs may never recover. The fractures are too severe. I don't think he will ever walk again." Ngozi froze, her knees weakened, and she grabbed a chair to steady herself. Her lips quivered as she whispered, "No, no, this can't be happening." She left the office in tears, her mind in turmoil. For the first time, the weight of her future pressed down on her. Was she truly ready to spend her life with a man confined to a wheelchair? That question haunted her as she drove back home that night. That night the house was quiet when Ngozi stormed into the sitting room, her eyes swollen from crying. Her mother, Mama Ngozi, was in the kitchen preparing dinner. "Mummy," Ngozi's voice broke as she collapsed into a chair. Startled, her mother wiped her hands and hurried over. "Ngozi, what is it? Why are you crying like this?" "Mummy, I don't know what to do," she sobbed. "Kunlay had an accident. The doctor said he may never walk again." Mama Ngozi's face tightened in shock. "What do you mean he may never walk again?" "That is what the doctor said. His legs are badly damaged. He might be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life," Ngozi cried, burying her face in her palms. Her mother sat beside her, thinking deeply. "Ngozi, listen to me. You are still young. Do you want to spend the rest of your life pushing a wheelchair? Do you want to waste your youth taking care of a crippled man?" "Mummy, I love him, but I don't know if I can do this," Ngozi whispered through her tears. Mama Ngozi sighed, placing a hand on her daughter's chin. "Love is sweet when there is comfort, but once hardship enters, love becomes a burden. You need to think wisely. Marriage is not only about emotions, it is also about survival." Ngozi shook her head slowly. "Mummy, I can't suffer. I'm not built for that life." Mama Ngozi's lips curved into a sly smile. "Exactly. And you don't have to. We have Amaka in this house, don't we?" Ngozi frowned. "Amaka? My half-sister? The one who does all the chores?" "Yes," her mother replied firmly. "She has always been the one scrubbing floors, cooking, washing. She is already used to suffering. Let her take care of Kunle. She can handle the burden. Why should you waste your life?" Ngozi blinked in surprise, her tears slowing. "So you mean I should give Kunle to Amaka to look after?" Her mother leaned back, satisfied. "Exactly. Amaka can be his caretaker. That way, you are free to live your life without being tied down to suffering." For a moment, Ngozi sat in silence, torn between guilt and relief. Then slowly, a small smile appeared on her lips. "You're right, Mummy. Amaka will take care of him. I can't suffer because of love." Mama Ngozi nodded approvingly. "Good girl. Tomorrow we will send Amaka to the hospital. From now on, she will be the one by his side." That night, Ngozi went to bed, with her mind made up. Love to her was not worth sacrifice. What she didn't know was that her decision would change the course of all their lives forever. The next morning, Ngozi walked into Lagoon Hospital, her heels clicking softly against the tiled floor. She entered Kunle's ward, her face carefully composed, though her heart was unsettled. Kunle lay there, weak and bandaged, but his eyes lit up when he saw her. "Ngozi, you came," he whispered, trying to smile. She sat beside him, holding his hand briefly. Her lips trembled before she spoke. "Kunle, I'm sorry, but I can't do this." Kunle's heart skipped. "Do what?" She lowered her gaze. "I can't take care of you. You deserve someone better, someone who can give you the attention you need." His grip on her hand tightened slightly. "Ngozi, what are you saying? We are engaged. You promise to be with me no matter what." Her eyes darted away, and her voice turned cold. "I have asked Amaka to take care of you. She will be coming here every day to look after you." Kunle stared at her in disbelief, his chest tightening as if pierced by a blade. "Ngozi, are you abandoning me?" She stood up, brushing imaginary dust off her dress. "Kunle, I am sorry, but I can't tie down my life like this. Please understand." He tried to reach for her, tears forming in his eyes. "Ngozi, don't leave me." But she pulled her hand away and turned her back. "Get well soon," she muttered, before walking out of the ward without looking back. Kunle lay there frozen, tears rolling down his cheeks. The woman he had loved with all his heart had turned away in his darkest moment. 3 days later, Kunle was discharged and returned to his mansion in Ikoyi. He sat silently in his wheelchair by the wide glass window overlooking the garden, his heart heavy. Ngozi had failed the test. But his story was far from over. Amaka, Ngozi's quiet half-sister, arrived at the mansion the following day. Unlike Ngozi, she didn't complain. She cooked his meals, cleaned his room, and patiently wheeled him around the house. Her gentle voice, her humility, and her selflessness stood in sharp contrast to Ngozi's coldness. For the first time, Kunle began to notice something he had overlooked all his life: the true strength of a quiet heart. From the very first day, Amaka devoted herself fully to caring for Kunle. She was gentle and consistent, never showing the slightest irritation or weariness. In the mornings, she would rise early, clean his room, and prepare his meals with care. She would help him bathe, dress him neatly, and ensure his wheelchair was ready. "Sir Kunle, your food is ready," she would say softly, placing the tray before him with a faint smile. In the afternoons, she wheeled him out into the garden for fresh air. Sometimes she would sit quietly beside him, and other times they would talk about simple things: books, nature, or childhood memories. Kunle watched her closely. Even when sweat ran down her forehead from long hours of work, she never complained. She did everything with patience and calmness, as though it was her joy to serve. One evening after dinner, Kunle noticed how tired she looked while clearing the dishes. "Amaka, come and sit down," he said gently. She hesitated, wiping her hands on her wrapper. "I'm fine, sir." "I insist. Sit," he repeated firmly. Slowly she obeyed, taking a seat across from him. He studied her for a moment before asking, "Amaka, why are you doing all this? You don't owe me anything. You are not my fiancé. So why sacrifice so much for me?" Amaka lowered her gaze, her voice quiet but steady. "Because I know what it feels like to be abandoned." Kunle tilted his head. "What do you mean?" She took a deep breath. "My mother died when I was 9. When Papa remarried, Mama and Ngozi came into our lives. Since then, I was never treated like a daughter. I became the one who cooked, cleaned, and washed, while Ngozi enjoyed every comfort, but I never complained. I just learned to endure. That is why when I saw you in this state, I couldn't turn away. I don't want you to feel what I've always felt." Her words pierced Kunle's heart. For a moment he was silent, overwhelmed by her honesty. Unlike Ngozi, who thought only of her own comfort, Amaka was selfless. She understood suffering, yet chose compassion over bitterness. That night, as Kunle lay awake in bed, his father's words echoed in his mind. "A woman's true heart is known in hardship." And now he knew. He had seen the truth with his own eyes. While Amaka dedicated herself to caring for Kunle with humility and love, Ngozi was busy living a completely different life. In Lagos, she partied with friends almost every weekend, moving from one high-profile event to another. Pictures of her at luxury lounges in Lekki and rooftop parties in Victoria Island filled social media. She laughed, danced, and entertained wealthy admirers, behaving as though she had never been engaged. One evening, her friend Adiaze confronted her at a dinner outing. "Ngozi, why haven't you been visiting Kunle?" Adiaze asked, sipping her drink. "He is still your fiancé." Ngozi rolled her eyes and waved her hand dismissively. "Please, Ada, I am too young to waste my life pushing a wheelchair. If I go there often, Kunle will expect me to stay with him, and I can't do that." Adize looked at her in disbelief. "But this is your fiancé, the man you were about to marry. Do you know how many women would give anything to be in your shoes?" Ngozi smirked. "He proposed to me when his legs were fine. Now, the doctor says he may never walk again. What kind of future would I have with a crippled man? I have dreams, Ada. I can't tie myself to that kind of life." Adize sighed heavily, shaking her head. "Ngozi, you are playing with fire. A good man like Kunle is hard to find. Don't throw him away." But Ngozi leaned back, adjusting her hair. Let Amaka have him if she wants. She is already used to suffering. That's her level. Me? I deserve more. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Amaka's quiet presence brought comfort to Kunle. Every morning, she served his meals with a smile. Every afternoon, she wheeled him out to the garden, where he felt peace in her company. Every night, she ensured his needs were met before she retired to her own room. One evening, as she wiped sweat from her forehead after a long day, Kunle watched her carefully. Unlike Ngozi, who only loved the spotlight, Amaka found joy in serving others. Unlike Ngozi, who ran from hardship, Amaka embraced it with grace. The contrast between the sisters had never been clearer. And slowly, Kunle's heart began to shift in a direction he had never imagined. Weeks passed, and Kunle had seen enough to understand the difference between the two sisters. But his father, Chief Adewale, urged him to take one last step. Kunle, his father said firmly one evening, go to Ngozi's house. Tell her family you still want to continue with the wedding. If she accepts, then perhaps she truly loves you. If she rejects you, then you will have your final answer. Kunle sighed heavily. He already knew the truth, but he agreed to his father's counsel. The following afternoon, Kunle was wheeled into Ngozi's family home in Surulere. Ngozi sat in the living room scrolling through her phone. Her father, Mr. Okafor, was watching the evening news, while Mama Ngozi busied herself in the kitchen. As soon as Ngozi looked up and saw him, her face stiffened, but she quickly forced a smile. Baby, you didn't tell me you were coming, she said, standing up awkwardly. Kunle looked straight at her, his expression calm but heavy. I came to tell your family that despite everything, I am ready to continue with our wedding plans. Her father's face brightened immediately. That is good news, my son. You are a good man and we support the marriage, he said warmly. But Mama Ngozi frowned. Her arms crossed tightly over her chest, her face filled with disapproval. Ngozi's lips trembled. She swallowed hard, then took a deep breath. Kunle, I can't do this, she finally said. The words hit Kunle like a thunderbolt. He clenched the armrest of his wheelchair. What do you mean you can't do this? Ngozi avoided his eyes. I mean, I can't marry you. I'm sorry. Her mother quickly added coldly, Yes, Kunle, we are sorry. You will find another woman. For a long moment, the room was silent. Kunle's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces, even though he had expected this outcome. The woman he had once loved so dearly had spoken without hesitation. Without another word, he turned his wheelchair around and rolled himself out of the house. As he left, Mr. Okafor sighed deeply. Ngozi, are you sure about this? Ngozi nodded quickly. Yes, Daddy. I can't waste my life taking care of a man in a wheelchair. It will drain my youth. Her mother smiled with satisfaction. You made the right decision, my dear. You are still young and beautiful. You will find another rich man. But little did they know, that single decision had closed a door forever. Back at his mansion in Ikoyi, Kunle sat by the large window, staring into the garden. His heart was heavy, but his mind was finally clear. Ngozi had failed the test, and not just once, but at every step. Yet, through all his pain, one person had never left his side, Amaka. She cooked his meals, cleaned his room, wheeled him around the compound, and cared for him with patience that never wavered. Her quiet presence was like medicine to his soul. One evening, after dinner, Kunle called her into the sitting room. She came in shyly, wiping her hands on her wrapper. Amaka, sit down, Kunle said softly. She obeyed, her eyes lowered. For a moment, Kunle studied her, then took a deep breath. Amaka, you have stood by me when I had nothing to give in return. You showed me kindness when I was at my weakest. You cared for me without complaint. That is what true love means. Her eyes widened in confusion. Sir Kunle, why are you telling me this? Slowly, Kunle reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. He opened it to reveal a beautiful ring. Amaka, will you marry me? Her hands flew to her mouth, her eyes filling with tears. Sir Kunle, are you serious? Yes, he said with a tender smile. I may be in this wheelchair, but my heart is whole, and I want to give it to you. You are the woman who has shown me what love truly is. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she nodded. Yes, Kunle, I will marry you. He smiled in relief as she threw her arms around him. For the first time in months, his heart felt alive again. A month later, their wedding took place in Abuja. It was a small but elegant ceremony, attended by close friends and family. Kunle looked dashing in his suit despite the wheelchair, while Amaka glowed in a white gown that seemed to light up the hall. Back in Surulere, Ngozi and Mama Ngozi didn't bother to attend. Instead, they mocked bitterly. Let her marry him, Mama Ngozi sneered. She likes suffering. Let her spend her life pushing a wheelchair. Ngozi smirked, crossing her legs. I can't wait to see Amaka in a wedding gown, wheeling her husband around like a nurse. That will be her portion. But while they mocked, Kunle and Amaka exchanged vows that sealed their bond forever. Their marriage was not built on wealth, beauty, or convenience. It was built on sacrifice, kindness, and genuine love. And destiny had only just begun to reward them. After the wedding, Kunle whisked Amaka away to a private resort in Obudu for their honeymoon. The cool mountain air and the breathtaking scenery provided the perfect backdrop for their new beginning. On their second night, Amaka was arranging their luggage in the room when she suddenly heard a sound behind her. She turned and froze. Kunle was rising from his wheelchair. Her eyes widened in shock as he straightened his legs and took a step forward. Kunle, you can walk? She gasped, her voice trembling. He smiled gently, taking another step toward her. Yes, my love, I was never truly paralyzed. Amaka dropped the clothes in her hands, her breath caught in her chest. What are you saying? Kunle's eyes softened. It was all a test, Amaka. My father asked me to find out if Ngozi truly loved me, so I pretended to be crippled, and she failed the test. Tears filled Amaka's eyes as her hands shook. All this while, you could walk? Yes, he said, reaching for her hands. And in the middle of that test, I found something greater. I found you, the one person who showed me love when I had nothing to offer. Her tears spilled as she pressed a trembling hand against her lips. Kunle, I don't know what to say. He pulled her into his arms. Say yes to the life ahead of us. You are my queen, Amaka, the woman I will spend the rest of my life proving my love to. She broke down in tears against his chest, not of sorrow but of overwhelming joy. I love you, Kunle, with all my heart. He kissed her forehead tenderly. And I will love you, Amaka, forever. That night, in the peaceful hills of Obudu, Amaka discovered the truth, not only about Kunle's test, but about the priceless treasure she had become to him. While Ngozi had walked away, Amaka had stayed, and in staying, she had won the crown of true love. Back in Surulere, life was no longer the same for Ngozi. At first, she pretended to be unbothered by Kunle's marriage to Amaka. She laughed with her friends, posted pictures on social media, and acted as though nothing had changed. But deep inside, her heart was restless. One evening, her friend Adaeze stormed into her house, excitement all over her face. Ngozi, you won't believe who I just saw. Ngozi barely looked up from her phone. Who? She asked lazily. Kunle and Amaka, Adaeze exclaimed. But Ngozi, listen, Kunle was walking. Ngozi's phone slipped from her hand. Walking? That's impossible. He was crippled. I'm telling you the truth, Adaeze said quickly. He was walking perfectly. No crutches, no wheelchair. And Amaka, Ngozi, she looked like a queen beside him. For a moment, Ngozi stood frozen. Her legs trembled as her mind raced. Then she grabbed her car keys and rushed out of the house, her heart pounding. When she arrived at Kunle's mansion in Ikoyi, Amaka opened the door. She wore a calm smile. Sister, You are welcome. Please come in. But Ngozi folded her arms and snapped. Where is Kunle? So you wanted to keep it a secret that he can walk? You thought you could hide him from me? Amaka's smile remained steady. Kunle is my husband now. I didn't hide anything from you. You never even asked about him. At that moment, Kunle's black SUV pulled into the driveway. He stepped out, tall and confident, no trace of disability in his stride. Ngozi's heart leapt. Without thinking, she ran to him and hugged him tightly. Baby, I'm so happy. You're healed. I missed you so much. Please forgive me. I was confused. But Kunle gently pushed her away, his face cold. Ngozi, what are you doing here? She looked up at him with teary eyes. Kunle, I was foolish. I let my mother deceive me, but I swear I truly love you. Please, give me another chance. Kunle shook his head slowly. Ngozi, I was never in any accident. I was never crippled. It was all a test to see if you truly loved me. Ngozi froze, her mouth open in shock. What? What are you saying? My father wanted me to be sure, Kunle continued. And I believed in you, Ngozi. I thought you would prove him wrong. But you failed. You loved my money, not me. Her knees buckled as she fell to the ground, tears streaming down her face. Kunle, please. I didn't know. I thought it was real. I can change, I swear. I love you. Kunle turned to Amaka and said calmly, My wife, please close the door. Amaka looked at her sister with quiet strength. Ngozi, you once mocked me and said I would suffer for the rest of my life. But now I have found love and peace. Please, go home. Ngozi's tears soaked her blouse as she stood up and glared at Amaka. You think you've won, don't you? You stole my happiness, but I will be back. She stormed out, her heart burning with regret and anger. That night, alone in her room, she hugged her pillow and wept until her body shook. For the first time, Ngozi realized she had lost the only man who ever truly loved her. And this time, there was no getting him back. Months passed, and the Adewale mansion in Ikoyi was filled with peace and laughter. Amaka's quiet devotion had blossomed into joy, and her marriage to Kunle grew stronger each day. Soon, Amaka's belly began to swell. She often stood in front of the mirror, gently rubbing her stomach with a soft smile. Kunle would come up behind her, wrap his arms around her, and rest his hands on her growing bump. My queen, he would whisper, kissing her cheek. Our little one is growing well. Amaka would giggle softly. Yes, my love. Soon we will hear the cries of our baby. And indeed, months later, the hospital ward echoed with the sound of a newborn. Amaka had just delivered a beautiful baby boy. Though exhausted, she beamed with joy as she held her son for the first time. Kunle stood by her side, his eyes wet with tears as he carried the baby in his arms. He's perfect, just like her mother. Welcome to the world, little John. Amaka smiled faintly. Our John, our first fruit. 3 days later, the couple returned home to a mansion decorated with balloons and baby clothes. Family and friends came to celebrate, and the house rang with music, laughter, and thanksgiving. But in Surulere, Ngozi's life had fallen into a pit of regret. She hardly ate, ignored calls, and spent most days lying on her bed, staring at the ceiling. Her once vibrant beauty was dimmed by swollen eyes and a broken heart. Adize visited one afternoon, fruits in hand, and gasped when she saw her friend's state. Ngozi, what is this? You look like someone who hasn't bathed in days. Are you going to kill yourself because of a man? Ngozi shook her head weakly. Ada, you don't understand. I lost him. Kunle was the only man who truly loved me, and now he's married to Amaka. Adize rolled her eyes. So what? You made mistakes, yes, but that was then. If Amaka took him, you can win him back. Don't just sit here crying. But Ngozi whispered brokenly, Ada, he told me to leave his house. He said he is already married to Amaka. He doesn't want me anymore. Adize leaned closer, her tone persuasive. Do you really believe Kunle loves Amaka more than he loves you? No. This may be another test. Think about it. You were his fiancé first. He still loves you, Ngozi. You just need to fight for your place. Slowly, a flicker of hope stirred in Ngozi's eyes. She looked at her reflection in the mirror, her face tired, but her determination hardening. You're right, Ada, she whispered. I can't just sit here and cry. Kunle was mine first. Amaka was just lucky. I will get him back. For the first time in months, she stood up with a renewed sense of purpose. Her heart burned with a dangerous mix of love, regret, and obsession. Life blossomed beautifully for Kunle and Amaka. Their home was filled with laughter, and little John became the light of their world. Every evening, Kunle would return from work to find Amaka in the living room, their son resting peacefully in her arms. Those moments reminded him of how far they had come and how blessed he truly was. But in Surulere, conflict brewed. One afternoon, Adeze visited Ngozi again, urging her to show up at Kunle's office under the guise of congratulating him on the baby. Before she could finish speaking, a firm voice interrupted. Enough. It was Mr. Okafor, Ngozi's father. He had just returned from work and overheard the conversation. He glared at Adeze. So, you are the one fueling this madness? Telling my daughter to chase a married man? Leave this house now. Ashamed, Adeze picked up her bag and slipped out silently. Turning to his daughter, Mr. Okafor's voice softened but carried weight. Ngozi, listen to me. You had your chance. You chose comfort over sacrifice. Now Kunle has found joy with Amaka. You must move on. Ngozi's eyes filled with tears. Daddy, I regret everything. I should never have left him. I love him still. Her father sighed, shaking his head. Love is not just words, Ngozi. It is action. When Kunle was in the wheelchair, you abandoned him. Amaka stayed. That is why she is his wife now. You must accept this truth, and let them be. Ngozi broke down, weeping bitterly, but deep within, she knew her father was right. Months passed, and time began to heal her wounds. With her father's help, she got a job at a real estate firm. She threw herself into work, slowly regaining confidence. By the following year, she carried herself with more dignity, her pain replaced by hard-earned maturity. Meanwhile, Kunle and Amaka continued to build a peaceful home. When John's first birthday came, their mansion was decorated with balloons and flowers. Family and friends gathered, laughter echoing through every hall. Even Ngozi attended. She held John in her arms, smiling genuinely as she kissed the child's cheek. For the first time, there was no bitterness in her heart, only peace. Later that evening, Mama Ngozi quietly approached Amaka. Her eyes glistened with tears as she said, My daughter, forgive me. Forgive me for everything. From your childhood until now. I was wrong. Amaka looked at her steadily, then nodded with a gentle smile. Mama, I forgave you a long time ago. Whatever happened only brought me here, to this beautiful life I now have. Let us leave the past behind us. They embraced, and for the first time in years, there was peace in that family. From a distance, Ngozi watched her mother and sister hug. She turned to her father and whispered, Papa, thank you for never giving up on me. Mr. Okafor smiled proudly. I'm proud of you, my daughter. You lost Kunle, but you found something just as precious. Wisdom, growth, and peace. And in that moment, Ngozi realized her story wasn't one of complete loss. She had fallen, but she had risen again, stronger and wiser. Kunle held Amaka's hand across the room, their son giggling between them. Their love had been tested, and it had triumphed. That's the story. True love wins, and selfishness loses. Do you agree with Kunle's choice? Drop your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe so you don't miss the next powerful story.